Okay, a very good evening to everyone. Before I start my session today, can I just have a quick sound check because this is a Zoom session, so I just want to make sure that all of you can hear me loud and clear. I don't want to make the same mistake where I start talking for like 10 minutes and I realize nobody could hear me for the first 10 minutes. All right, so whoever that's tuning in today, and if you can hear me loud and clear, can you please type in the chat? Please put a 1, please. Just put a number 1 in the chat so that I know you can hear me. Okay. Hold on. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so sound check and screen check is done. So a very welcome to our session today. My name is Ben, and I am a Senior Group Division Director with ERA. I've been in this business for coming 10 years now and have had quite a number of experience in buying properties myself and all that. So today I just want to take this opportunity to share with you a rare opportunity which in my past 10 years I have never witnessed before. All right, so without further ado, I will kickstart today's session. I will take about an hour or so to share with you a little bit more on the current market and where's this opportunity that I'm talking about. All right. So before that, of course, some disclaimers. For whatever that I'm sharing tonight, these are all based on my opinions, but I'll share with you a lot on statistics, numbers, and data. All right. So first up, right, what we want to talk about first would be whether right now it's a good time to buy or a good time to wait, right? So I think a lot of us as buyers, we all have had this concern about property prices being high. And to be fair, something that I want to share is that in my past 10 years in the business, I think there has never been once that my buyer buys into a property thinking that the prices are low, right? Even I myself, recently, I've also committed to a property in the current market, which is also in a way deemed high, So we do not want to speculate the market, right? Whether to buy or wait, let's let the numbers do the talking, all right? So first things first, let's look at the property price trend for the last 10 years, okay? So if you look at the past 10 years, our real estate property prices have been constantly on a healthy upward trend. In the last 10 years, there has been about 47.5% in terms of growth, all right? So this has been quite normal, right? Property prices has been increasing, right? But one thing that I want to point out here is that at any point in time when we are buying, right, we wouldn't know whether prices are going to go up, prices are going to go down, right? But if you can look at the future, like what you see in the graph now, if you're in 2013 and you see that prices are trending upwards till 2023, the question here now is if you can turn back time to 2013, would you have bought a property, right? You don't have to key in the chat, but just think about this, right? Looking at the graph now, if we could turn back time, even just 1 to 2 years or even back to 10 years ago in 2013, would you have committed to a property, right? I would. And if you look at the graph, I would have wanted to turn back time to 2015 and buy in then because that was the lowest. All right. But the tricky part here is that if I were to turn back time to 2015, at 2015, I wouldn't know if it's a good time to buy or not because I cannot see the remaining part of the chart here. All right. So I'm going to show you a little bit more about what's coming up in time to come. All right. But I think what's more important now is that, a lot of buyers have concerns, prices can't be going up indefinitely, right? Are we in a bubble now? Prices can't be going up all the time and not dipping. What if now is the tipping point, right? I get that question a lot in the current time. I do understand that fear. Like I said, I am a buyer in the current time myself, together with my wife. So we also have had that fair share of concerns about whether property prices are going to be tipping soon and what if I'm the buyer who buys in at a high and property market starts to dip, then I will be hit pretty badly, right? So I do perfectly understand your concerns, all right? So the key thing here that we are talking about is the fear of price drop, right? That's the inner concern that all of us as buyer we have today. Okay, so I just want to address this right away. The key question here is, will prices drop? All right, so let's not speculate. Let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about economics and things like that. Okay, so the first thing that I want to be talking about is the high land bidded price that you've seen in the news recently, or rather in the past 1 to 2 years, land prices has been constantly on a rise, right? So if you look at these numbers in red on the outer circle, these are all the expected selling price or the current average selling price of all these current launches. So if you look at it, some of these are outside central region, and like Dairy Farm Walk, this plot of land was selling about 2,001 per square foot on average. This is botany at Dairy Farm. We also have the Jalan Tembusu, Tembusu Grand, selling at about 2004, 2005, and recent launch at Grand Diamond, which is also about 2004, 2005 on average. I think there were properties that I remember clearly, there were units that even went up to 2007, 2008 per square feet. All right, then of course we have the reserve residences at Jalan Anak Bukit, which averaged at about 2005, which sold, more than 70-80% on first day of launch, and within weeks, all the 2-bedders and 1-bedders were just flying off the shelves, right? So the key thing to take note is that all the new project launches are all above 2,000 per square foot now. Of course, we exclude the ECs because EC is a slightly different product. Not everybody is eligible for an EC, right? But if we look at private properties alone, once again, they are all above 2,000 per square feet. All right, and it's not that at 2,000 per square feet that nobody's buying. All these projects are launching and the take-up rate is so healthy, right? Reserve residences, 70-80%, Grand Diamond at 2005, 2007. It also sold at 50% on day one, right? So the take-up rate is pretty healthy. The land prices are high, which results in a higher sales price. And the absorption rate for this price range is still very healthy. All right. So what this means to us as buyers is that there is a strong baseline from this high bidded land price. Okay, because if we look at properties in general, I always like to share there's 2 factors that we want to be talking about. Number 1, the land that the property is being built on, and number 2, the construction costs. Okay, so this is first factor. If the land cost is increasing and the land cost is high, how will the property prices dip moving forward when all the property prices now, even in the OCR regions, are already surpassing 2,000 per square feet? And the good thing here is that there has been a lot of buyers who have already bought in at this new norm of $2,000 per square feet, right? So this sets a strong baseline because these people will not sell low and make a loss, right? Moving forward, if anything, they would be selling higher to get at least a break even or some profits, right? So this helps us to set a strong baseline. That's factor number 1. Factor number 2, right? We talk about the construction costs, as I mentioned earlier, and the land costs. We are currently hit by inflation, right? So in the last 2 to 3 years during the pandemic, I think there has been several rounds of quantitative easing. In short, a lot of the central banks, the governments, they have been printing money to help curb the downturn of the economy due to COVID-19, right? So, but with all this printing of money, quantitative easing, that's where inflation has hit us pretty badly as well, right? So land costs has went up, as I showed you in the earlier slide. Construction costs includes your material costs, your labor costs. This cost has easily went up by at least 20-30% easy, right? So with the land cost and construction costs increasing, I do not see any strong telltale signs of developers selling cheaper and cheaper moving forward, right? So marketing costs with inflation, everything is increasing, right? So margins, developers right now are pretty squeezed. They cannot price it too high. They cannot have too big a profit because if they price it too high, they can't sell it well, right? So, but at the same time, they are also compressed on the other end where they have high costs incurred in the construction, in the land costs. So they are pretty squeezed at the moment, all right? And a lot of all these increasing costs are usually passed on to consumers, which is us, right, as buyers. So with the cost being passed on to buyers, I do not see any reason or any signs of price easing anytime soon. Okay. And we all know that currently we are in a high interest market. So we also do know that in the current high interest market, it hasn't stopped property buyers from entering the market. In fact, it hasn't seemed to affect anyone at all. Properties are still selling pretty well. But you have to understand that for us buyers, the impact is not as great as high interest on developers, because we are talking about $1 to $2 million or $3 million loan for us. But for developers, they are getting hundreds of $1 million of loan, right, for the construction and all that. So with the slight increase in the interest rates, that could significantly increase their costs in terms of the interest payable for the loan taken for the construction and all that, right? So with that, with the pressure from the higher interest, that actually prevents the developer from lowering the price as well, because these are all additional costs. Okay, so that's factor number 2. Inflation is here to stay. Looking at it, unlikely prices are going to dip, right? So my next point will be more towards supply. I think supply has been a problem in the last few years. When COVID-19 hit, construction put to a halt, construction slowed down, construction delayed. It's the same for all sectors in the HDB market, in the private new launch market. The whole sector is all hit, right? So supply has been relatively low. And if you look at it, in the last 10 years, we look at average demand, okay, versus supply moving forward. So you look at this, in the last 10 years, we have had about 130,000 units transacted. So on average, we are looking at about 13,000 units in terms of demand a year, right? This is just estimated numbers. And we look at the supply currently, we can see that since Q1 2019, supply has been constantly dipping, all right? And right now, our current unsold private property supply stands at about 17,500, all right? And if you look at it, our yearly demand is about 13,000. So our current supply can only actually last the market for about a year, all right? But this year, thankfully, we have had a lot of launches. But still, these launches are all coming in one by one, or 2 at a time, 3 at a time. This is not going to immediately solve the supply issue, because every time a property launches, the take-up rate is good, because there's nothing else to buy, right? So this incoming flow of supply isn't enough to solve the problem yet, all right? So the low supply hinders price easing as well. So likely prices are still trending upwards. And over here, I just want to show you the direct impact when the supply dipped since 2019. Okay, so 2019 prices dipped, and in that same time frame, property prices actually went up by 52.8%. Okay, so if we look at it from Q1 2019, supply dipped, and in that same time, new home sales price increased 52.8%. Okay, so with the current low supply still, prices are still likely to trend upwards. Okay, so I hope some of these factors here are giving you the confidence to enter, just like how I've entered the market recently. I was also basing on these few factors to make a decision to enter the current market. Because looking at all these factors, I think it's a very clear telltale sign that prices are not going to be dipping, because the supply issues are not solved. Land prices have been bidded for high prices. People have entered in at higher prices. You know, all these things have set a very strong support line for us. Okay, and if anything, I think a lot of us are more careful in where we put our money, where to buy in terms of a property now. So I just want to show you this new home sales graph for the 3 regions: our core central region, our rest of central region, and lastly, our outside central region, right? So this graph here is plotted since January 2020 till now. Okay, so if you can see, this is a about 3-year window, starting from COVID all the way to now, right? So since the pandemic till now, we can see that the OCR regions, right, has actually increased the most in terms of 55% in just a short span of 3 years. And on the contrary, the core central region, despite it being in prime areas and all that, the prices didn't move up by a lot. They only went up by 2.45%, right? So what can we derive from these past numbers that we are seeing? Okay, how I derived my conclusion to this is that OCR, our outside central region properties, are definitely more resilient than our core central region properties, right? So we are more resilient to bad times and all that. Why? Because the entry prices are generally lower, right? So you can see from the starting point in January 2020, our OCR prices was averaging at about 1,004, close to 1,005, and then CCR is at about 2008, thereabouts, right? So OCR being where the mess is, lead being lower entry price, it gives a lot of buyers a more acceptable price range, right? So the take-up rate is generally higher, the demand is higher for the outside central region because of the lower price point. And that is why the absorption rate is high, and that is why it went up the most during a critical time like COVID-19. All right. So I do have buyers on the ground who have been sharing with me, oh, Ben, I'm worried about the upcoming recession, so on and so forth. In fact, we are already in a recession, right? Because it has already been past more than two quarters of negative GDP, right? So technically, we're already in a soft recession, but I don't see any signs of things slowing down at the moment, maybe because of the factors that I mentioned earlier. But no matter what, even if things were to slow down and all that, I think the safest place to enter would definitely be the outside central region, right? Because in this graph, you can see that in COVID times, OCR was the most resilient, right? Because of higher absorption due to the lower pricing, right? So that's something that you have to understand. So that being said, which OCR project should we look at then? Because in OCR, as I mentioned before, a lot of the properties now, all the new launches, they are all past 2,000 per square feet, right? Some of you buyers here, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the other show flats. All right, so today I want to recommend this project, right, which is called the Arden, right? So the Arden is a Greek name for live it up, right? Because for our development, we are on a higher plot of land. And also all the units here come with high ceiling, which I'll share with you more later on. All right. I will talk about the price point later as well, which is what in my opinion, a rare opportunity to what I'm mainly talking about today. Okay, but before going into that, what I can do is to share with you some of the basic info of this development, and then I'll leave the rest for you to come by our show gallery and have a look at the show units, our finishing, and all that by yourself. Okay, so for the Arden, this development is actually done by Qingjian Realty. Total, we have 3 blocks. It's located at Phoenix Road, which is at Choa Chu Kang area. So we're just situated directly opposite the Phoenix LRT. It's a 99 leasehold property, and we have a fresh lease from the 14th of July, just this month, and we have a total of 105 units. Okay, so the estimated TOP here is 30th of September 2027. All right, and of course, Qingjian has put together a strong construction team, architect, interior design, main con, so on and so forth. Okay, so in this 105 units, we have a good mix of 2 bedrooms, 2 bedroom deluxe. So we have 2 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 2 bath, and then we also have the classic 3-bedder, and also the 3-bedder with study, which is in our term is called the co-space. That is Qingjian's trademark as well. We also have the 4-bedroom classic and the 4-bedroom co-space. All right, not to worry. I will show you the floor plan later on. But in general, just know that over here we do not have a 1-bedder. We do have a variety from 2-bedder all the way to 4-bedders, catering from young families to investors, all the way to as more established older families, right? Because we are very near to malls, MRT, and all that. So very, very livable location, and also very rentable for investors as well. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is our developers. Qingjian is actually a Chinese developer, and they have actually had quite a long history in Singapore, from DBSS all the way to condos and all that, right? So over here, I just want to clear any of your doubt. I do hear pretty frequently on the ground that, some buyers are concerned about Qingjian being a Chinese developer. Will that compromise the quality of my development and all that, right? So while I think that's a valid concern, I do feel that's an outdated concern, right? Because I've been with Qingjian for quite a while. I've seen their project at Foret, Jadescape, LeQuest, and all that. My brother bought LeQuest. My friend bought Jadescape. I went down to collect keys with them before. and I've seen the finishing with my eyes before, right? And I really do believe that Qingjian's quality is there because of what I've seen. All right, but if you haven't had a chance like me to see Qingjian's development, what I want to reassure you here is that thankfully, BCA now has a new rating system for developers to have a construction quality assessment system to rate and score the developers so that all buyers will know the performance, the quality, and track these developers. Okay, so you can check this on the quality housing portal yourself. You can just type in Qingjian under the developer, and you can see that under this construction quality score rating system, Qingjian is actually a band 1 developer. Right, so we are band 1 developer here. That means to say they are already at the top. That's the best that you can go, right? So reassured, the quality will definitely be there. And when you come down to our development, you can see the finishing that they are providing, right? It's definitely top-notch quality, even though it's a smaller development. Okay, so these are some of the awards that Qingjian has won. There's too many to mention one by one. They've also did a lot of co-space design for other developments like Bellwaters, Bellwoods, Ecopolitan, Visionaire, right? So basically, co-space means it's a flexible study space, right? You could potentially remove the study space to enlarge your living area as well. All right, but I'll come to that when we reach the floor plan. But something that I want to share with you on Qingjian's track record, right, is that if you look at their recent launches that have actually reached the resale market, we are looking at Jadescape and also LeQuest. These are two of their developments that have recently TOP, right, collected keys. So you look at Jadescape, there has been a total of 68 transactions so far, and 0 transactions here are unprofitable, right? In other words, all 100% of these transactions at Jadescape have been profitable, and the highest here being about close to 800,000 in terms of profits, right? So that's very good numbers. For LeQuest, which is somewhere closer to us in Bukit Batok, you can see that the transactions, we have 42 transactions, and all 42 of them are all profitable as well, right? And the highest being about 240,000 in terms of profit, right? So very strong track records from Qingjian. You know, when these people are selling for such a profit, when there's no unprofitable transactions, this could also relate to the resale buyers buying into quality products, right? Because if it's bad, no buyers will want to enter the resale market to these developments as well. Okay, so please do not worry about Qingjian. We are actually a band 1 developer already with many awards, many track records. Okay. Next, let's talk about the location for the Arden. As I mentioned, we are right across Phoenix LRT, and we are about 7 to 8 minutes walk to our Bukit Panjang integrated transport hub. Okay, so we've walked the ground before. Some of those who are walking a bit faster, takes them about 6.5 minutes, right? But for me, I'm a slow paced walker, and it took me about 8 minutes slow breeze walk, right? I didn't rush. It took us about 6 to 8 minutes on average. Okay, so pretty near amenities. Over there, you have your public transport, your amenities is all nearby. All right, and what's even better is that we are located to a gazetted 3-story semi-detached landed housing estate. Okay, so our show flat is actually on actual site. So when you drive to our show flat, you can park at actual site. But you know, when you're leaving, do drive around the estate, right? Get a feel of the surrounding landed enclave. Usually, if you are near MRTs, if you are near malls, what you get is usually a pretty noisy setting as well, a pretty congested setting as well. But over here, we are just, again, 7 to 8 minutes walk to the MRT, but yet we are situated in a lower population density area because of the landed enclave. It's a bit more quiet, it's a bit more serene, and once again, we are walking distance to the amenities, right? So that's something that is not usually found. And once you hit Bukit Panjang MRT, basically you are linked to the whole entire MRT network, where you have Botanic Gardens, where you can change to Circle Line, just a few stops away. You have Stevens, where you can change to the Brown Line, and then Newton, Little India, Bugis, that's where you change to all the other interchanges, right? So we are very, very well connected, right? Next, as I mentioned, we are just a few minutes walk to Hillian Mall. We also have nearby Bukit Panjang Plaza and Junction 10, right? So not only are you close to one mall, but you are close to three malls. And if you drive or want to go somewhere further, we have UV2, we have Rail Mall, West Mall, and then of course the Jurong East area where you have GEM, Westgate, IMM, and all that. These are all within very close proximity. Okay. And in our location, we are actually located to very reputable schools within the downtown line. So once you hit the MRT, you can just hop on and take a few stops to King Albert Park, where you have Methodist Girls' School. Another two more stops down at Tan Kah Kee Station. That's where you are close to Raffles Girls Primary, Nanyang Girls High School, National Junior College, and also Hwa Chong Institution. Right, and another two more stops down at Stevens MRT. That's where you have your SCGS and also your St. Joseph's Institution, right? So these are all big names, very reputable schools. It's all very accessible from the Arden. Okay, so buying properties, right? I want to talk about transformation. It's a very simple logic, right? You wouldn't want to be buying into a development or an area where it has already been transformed. Then you'll be buying in at a high, you'll be buying in at the after transformation premium, right? So in the West, in the Arden, we are very close to a lot of the upcoming transformation in the Jurong districts, which I'll show you. So one of them, of course, is our Jurong Lake district. Recently, the government has also announced a 6.9 hectare, 3 plots of land. These are all part of the Jurong Lake district, right? And it's not going to be a very small project, right? There's going to be new science center, business park, and more than 120 hectares of office space, housing, amenities, and car light and park settings. So the whole Jurong Lake district is going to change. By 2028, we also have our Jurong regional line that consists of 24 MRT stations that just serve the Jurong and the west side of Singapore. Okay. So Jurong Lake District, by 2040, 2050, by then we will have 100,000 new jobs, 20 new homes. You have your Jurong Regional Line coming up by 2029, 2030. Jurong Lake District, essentially, it consists of 100 hectares of parks and greeneries. So these are major transformation that, yes, it will not happen in the short term, 5 years or so, but in the next 10, 15, 20 years, this is where these major transformation have already taken place, which covers your exit plan in the longer term as well, right? So I'll talk about the shorter exit plan in a short while, but basically you're covered in terms of short to longer term exit strategies, right? So because when you buy, for those of you for using it for own stay, on average, you'll be there for about 10, 15 years. By the time you exit this Jurong Lake, Jurong Innovation District, these changes have already started to take place. All right, so it's a good time for you to exit then with very strong demand from these expanding areas. Okay, so we also have the Jurong Innovation District, which is served by 6 of the Jurong regional lines. It's basically an innovative hub that will house another 95,000 jobs. So for those investors, this will be your potential tenant pool as well. For those who are buying it for own stay, potentially these are the people who will be looking at your properties in time to come as well, right? On top of that, we do have the transformation or the development of the Tengah town area. So to summarize, in short, Tengah is going to be the size of an entire Bishan, which comprises of about 42,000 residential units, right? 30 public housing and 12,000 in terms of private housing. Okay, so we don't talk about the private housing. Let's just talk about the 30,000 strong HDB potential upgraders from this new HDB estate, right? If you look at the map here, the Arden is right at the tip of this green arrow over here, and we are very, very close proximity to the entire Tengah town, right? Once again, this is as big as Bishan, and there's going to be about 30,000 HDB units here. In fact, some of them are going to be collecting their keys in about 2 years' time, 1 to 2 years' time. So some of them, if they are going to be upgrading soon in another 5 years from that, you're looking at a short-term exit of about 6 to 7 years from the Tengah area, and then in the longer term from the Jurong transformation, right? So very, very healthy exit plan here, which is one of the telltale signs that this is a safe investment. Because we want to talk about entry price, we also want to be talking about potential exit plan. So the exit plan is covered here. I'll talk about the price and the entry later on. Okay. So these are some of the transformation. We look closer into the development itself. This is the site plan. So if you can see my cursor, looking straight up towards Choa Chu Kang Road, this is the north facing direction. And right at the bottom of this image, that's where the south facing is. Okay, so you can see that all the units here, 100% of them, they are all north-south facing, right? So very strategically designed so that none of the units here have west-sun facing and all of them have the optimum north-south facing, which most buyers like in the current market. Okay, so generally, if you're looking at two-bedders, there will be the units and stacks in between the blocks. And then the corner units is where we house our 3 and 4 bedders. Okay. So we can see we are quite far away to the LRT line. We are about 50 meters away. So not too noisy. And in fact, for those of you who are familiar with the area or familiar with LRTs for the matter, you will know that LRTs are actually pretty quiet. All right, and we are also quite well distanced to the opposite landed enclave. Okay, so a very comfortable setback to our surrounding. All the units here, once again, north-south facing. Over here, we do provide a 1-to-1 car park ratio as well. So 105 units, that comes with 105 car park lots as well. So over here, we have separate service access, which I'll touch on shortly. But over here, you can see we do have 3 recreation areas. So recreation area court 1, that's where we house our swimming pool. Recreation court 2, that's where we house our kids pool, our verdant courtyard, and also our gym. And the recreation court 3, that's where we have our kids playground, our function room, and all that. Okay. So yes, total we have 3 blocks. This is just some artist impression to show you the designing concept. As you can see, once again, we are on the higher ground. So from Choa Chu Kang Road all the way to this first floor over here is about 7.4 meters, right? So we are situated on the higher ground. Even though you are in front of the road, technically you are higher up. Okay. So unlike the typical basement entrance over here at the Arden, once you come in from the guardhouse, you do have a exclusive driveway experience down to the basement area, right? So I like this concept by Qingjian because most developers don't do this because it's actually taking up space in your internal compound. So they actually compromise their own internal space to provide this exclusive driveway experience when you come back home, right? So it's really hard for me to show you based on this 2D image, but you can see it very clearly from our model when you come by the show flat, okay? So very good orientation, north-south facing. Yep, this is the separate access to the service facilities. So this blue arrow, this is where you enter as a resident if you drive. This is our main entry and exit. For the orange arrows here, this will be our exit and entrance for our service access, like the M&E rooms and all that. Okay. So these are the location of the lift and the refuge chute. Probably we don't have to be looking at this until you're more zooming down to which stack are you looking at and all that. Then probably we can show you this again. Over here, what I want to show you is that for our units, they are all at 3.2 meter ceiling height, right? So this is one of the key unique features about the Arden. A typical condo nowadays would house a ceiling height of about 2.89, all right? And HDB is usually about 2.6 to 2.7, right? So 3.2 is very high. And this 3.2 meter ceiling height, you do not have to pay for any additional airspace. It's provided to you free of charge. And this extra ceiling height here actually helps to create a very spacious environment. All right, so once again, it's very difficult for me to help you visualize how 3.2 meter ceiling height is. But in our show gallery, we have did it in an actual 3.2 meter ceiling height to help you get a feel of how it's really like to be living in a unit that has high ceiling. All right, so if 3.2 meter ceiling height is not good enough, you want to look at the 5th floor penthouse units, which is at 4.6 meter ceiling height. All right, so we do have our show gallery. We can show you what 4.6 meter ceiling height is. But basically at 4.6 meter ceiling height, you could comfortably fit a mezzanine deck to make it into a loft concept, where even though you're on the second, when you're at the loft on top, you can still have a very comfortable head space. Okay. So yep, this shows you the ceiling height. Next is the facade of the development, right? So this is the artist's impression of how the Arden is going to look like. Basically, the developers have designed this development to be more towards the timeless, modern, classic vibes, right? So that in 10 years, 20, 30 years, or even longer than that, moving forward, the design is still nice, it's still modern and classic, right? So, I mean, some developments are very nice now, but 20 years down the road, the design gets outdated. And that affects the potential buyers who are buying in time to come as well. Okay. So if you look at the facade, the developers are providing you full floor to ceiling height windows, which provides more natural lighting coming in. So your units will be bright and you have very nice view of your pool area, your courtyard area and all that. Okay, so let's look at the floor plan. First up, of course, we have our 2 bedrooms. This is our 2 bed, 1 bath, dumbbell layout. So you have 1 bedroom on the left, 1 bedroom on the right. Pretty normal kitchenette on the right. But one thing extra here is that we have a bomb shelter, a household shelter, which can be doubled up as a storage space. Right, I think a lot of the developments nowadays do not come with household shelter. And a lot of complaints from my friends is that, you know, if they're staying in a 2-3 bedder, they have lack of space to store their stuff, right? So some of them, they get those beds where they can store their luggages and all that below. But they do have problems, you know, storing their mahjong table, their vacuum cleaners and all that, right? So this is one of the few development nowadays that still has a storeroom or rather a bomb shelter in the unit itself. Okay, so this is the penthouse. Next, I want to show you the 2-bedroom deluxe. So this is our 721 B2 type B2 unit. This is the exact unit that we have at our show unit. Right, we have a 2-bedroom and a 4-bedroom at our show gallery. This will be what you'll be seeing at the show flat. So unlike the typical layout like you saw earlier, the kitchen here is actually pushed to the back of the entrance. So when you come in, you do not see the kitchen yet. You are on your right, you have the storage or the household shelter, followed by your dining and living space, and then a enclosed kitchen at the back. Right. So a lot of buyers, they prefer to have an enclosed kitchen for 2 bedders. They prefer to have a kitchen with windows so that you can have your cooker stove instead of an induction cooker, and you can have natural ventilation. You do not find this often in a lot of the development nowadays. But for the Arden, we have this very special layout. This is one of our most popular layouts where you have this enclosed kitchen. And the best thing here is that you can actually choose to enclose it or keep it open, right? So it's a dual entrance from the balcony and also the living room area. But basically, you can enter from both sides, keep it open on both sides, or keep it enclosed from both sides, right? So once again, you can come down to have a look and better feel of how efficient the space of use is for this show unit. Okay, next we have our 3 bedrooms. Our 3 bedrooms are also very special. We have a foyer space that comes into the dining storage area once again. But what's special about this layout is that you can have the option to keep this kitchen enclosed or open, right? So yes, most buyers would prefer an enclosed kitchen, but there are times where you want to free up space from the kitchen area. You know, you wish that it was open so that your living room feels a lot bigger. This is the perfect layout where you have that flexibility to keep it open or closed, right? So when you have guests, you can always keep it open to have more space, to let it feel more spacious so that it's not so cluttered, all right? And the kitchen here is also ventilated as well. We have our 3-bedroom plus study. So the study area here that you can see on my cursor, this is the cold space that I was talking about, right? This is our Qingjian signature cold space. Aircon is provided in this area, and this is actually did up in a dry wall, right? So if you want to free up more space in your living area, you do not need your study space, then of course you can remove the wall over here, and we can even request for the developers to not have this wall erected so that you can, immediately you are greeted with a wider living room, right? But I think in the current context since COVID, a lot of us have started working from home, and I think a study space is very important nowadays, right? Even for myself, when I'm looking for a resale property, instead of a 3-bedder, I want to be looking at 3+ study or a 4-bedder so that I can have a home office, right? So I think study space is very important now. So this is one of our popular layouts as well, where most buyers are looking at. And I think in terms of exit moving forward, because of the change in lifestyle, I think this layout will be very popular as well. Okay, so let's look at the 4-bedroom classic. We have a foyer space that provides privacy, and then we also have a spacious living dining, very well ventilated with the kitchen open as well. The household shelter once again provides extra storage. I think the key highlight will be the 4-bedroom plus study. Basically, it's a similar layout, but you have the extra cold space over here. Okay, so this is one of my favorite layouts. Thankfully, we have this at the show gallery, so you can come down and have a look and have a feel of the space as well. Okay. So in terms of interior design, these are things that you can see on the ground. So I wouldn't want to touch on too much, but basically the color scheme that the architect or the interior designer have chose is something more towards the dawn, warm finishing. Okay, so for the cabinets, this is the finishing, a wood finishing laminate for the cabinetry doors, quartz for your countertop and backsplash. And then for floor, we are providing you porcelain tiles that looks like marble, basically marble-like porcelain tiles, and also natural Burmese teak parquet for the bedrooms. Right, so just want to point this out because Burmese teak parquet is actually a very expensive finishing, and seldom do you see this in products like the Arden. Usually, you would see this in core central region, high-end developments. Then you will see such quality finishing. Even for the high ceiling as well, these are usually found in core central region projects, right? So over here at the Arden, although we are OCR location, OCR project, but we are actually getting very, very good specifications for your unit, right? 3.2 meter ceiling height, Burmese teak parquet, and many more, right? So they are providing you high-end kitchen appliances like Bosch. Some developers are actually cutting costs because of what I shared earlier. There's an increase in construction costs. Some developers are actually cutting down on the materials, providing vinyl finishing, providing Electrolux and all that, right? So developer here is not cutting on any costs, and in fact, they're giving you very quality finishing, right? So Bosch, for the high-end kitchen appliances, this is how your bathroom will look like. What I like about the bathrooms from Qingjian is they always have these LED lights that you see that you can actually control the brightness of the LED lights, and these are all provided, right? Which you can play around when you come by our show flat. Our sanitary ware and fittings are also luxuriously fitted with Roca and Hans Grohe. These are all top quality stuff. Common room, master room, wardrobe, this is what you'll be looking at. And I want to emphasize on our wardrobes, right? Because we have a high ceiling of 3.2 meters, our wardrobes are constructed from floor to ceiling, and this provides an extra storage space for all the residences here, right? So it may not sound like anything, but you have to understand that developers do not actually have to give you a wardrobe from floor to ceiling height, right? They could potentially cut costs and reduce their material costs by just building a typical wardrobe height and save on the materials, right? So something that I really love about Qingjian is that they are always prioritizing the homeowners, the usability, the functionality of home buyers rather than cutting costs and increasing profits, right? Because I've seen a lot of their developments, and you can see when they design the units that a lot of thoughts have been put into what's best for consumers rather than what makes them more money, right? So these are things that you can have a look and verify when you come down to the show gallery. This is our 4-bedroom closet. It's a very nice black tinted glass with LED strips. This is one of my favorite, but this comes only for the 4-bedder. Okay, so this is more of the development. I will leave the viewing of the development to you at the current show flat itself. Before we end today's session, I just want to touch a lot more on the entry price, right? So we spoke about how property prices are unlikely to dip moving forward. We spoke about how we have very good exit plans from near to mid to long-term plans. Right now, we want to be talking about whether we are entering at the right price, right? So for sure, we are entering at a good time because we are expecting prices to still increase. But in the current times where everywhere it's 2,000 per square feet, how do we tell whether this is a good entry price or not? Okay, so let me show you some numbers. Okay, so this graph over here shows you the new launch average sale price for the OCR region in particular. Okay, so you can see in 2023, our average price for OCR region for new home sales have already hit 2,050 per square foot. Okay, so this line in red shows you the 2,000 PSF mark. And as you can see in 2021, 2022, that's where we have already broken the 2,000 PSF mark. So if you have attended my seminar before, I always like to advise my buyers to get used and be adapted to the new norm of $2,000 per square feet. Long gone were the days where we see things below 2,000 per square feet, right? So the new launch overall average is above 2,000. If we can find something that is below 2,000, I would think that it's generally safe and, in my opinion, considered undervalued, right? Because I can share this easily because I know what's available in the market. But if you look at the surrounding developments, if you look at what's available in the market, you will notice that you can hardly find anything below the 2,000 PSF mark right now, right? But this is where your opportunity is here. Okay, so for the Arden, we are actually attractively priced at 1,600 plus per square feet, all the way to about average of about 1,750 PSF. Okay, so these are numbers by the developers. I'm not speculating it. Developers have openly shared that the prices will start from 16xx PSF. Yes, you heard me right, 16xx PSF. And the average price for all the units here will be about 1,750 PSF. Okay, so I have rounded it up to 1,800 per square feet. And if you look at where the 1,800 per square feet mark is, that is our 2021, 2022 prices, right? So I want to bank strongly on this. The opportunity that I was talking about, the golden opportunity that I was sharing about, this is what I'm referring to, all right? Because how often do you get a chance to buy in at past prices? If you look at it, we are entering at 2021 and 2022 price point, right? Which is long gone, right? We do not see the average price of 1,008 nowadays, right? So if you remember my earlier question, the very first few slides that I show you, if we can turn back time to 2013 or 2015, would you have bought a property, right? So of course, we cannot turn back time, right? But now in the current context, based on this graph, we are in 2023, right? But now this rare opportunity has came where you can buy in at 2 years ago price point. Okay, so I just want to touch on more and share with you why is this possible in the current time, right? If it's not because of the delay for the Arden, you wouldn't have seen such an opportunity. And in my last 9 years in the business, I have never seen any chances like this before. Well, we were stipulated to launch the Arden sometime 1.5 years ago, right? I think it was early 2020. I remember it was just right after Chinese New Year. We still had our Arden Chinese New Year angpaos. So I think we were stipulated to launch February 2022, right? But last minute, there was some delays because there was some issue with the current plot of land. This land was actually en bloc. So one of the substation, actually that land belongs to SLA. So there was a lot of time was needed to actually have SLA selling back the land back to the land was actually by SP services, and then they have to sell it back to SLA before SLA can sell it to Qingjian again. So in the last 1.5 years, there was a lot of to and fro with that small plot of land. And finally, now we have managed to solve that problem, right? But in general, yes, they have to buy up that small piece of land, but in general, that plot of land was bought 2 years ago at a relatively lower price, right? Which is why we are able to launch at this price point below $2,000 per square feet. right? If you look at majority of the OCR launches, they are all selling at 2,000 because their land cost is all about 900 plus to about 1,000 PSF PPR on average, right? But for the Arden, the developers have actually bought that piece of land 2 years ago at about 600 plus per square foot per plot ratio. And of course, we have to factor in the extra cost incurred and also the cost of holding this land for 2 years and not doing anything, right? So developers have actually incurred extra costs for the land, but because we bought in at 2 years ago, we are able to sell at a much lower price. And once again, this is an opportunity, in my opinion, because in my last 9 years, I've never seen something like that, where you know that moving forward, property prices are going up, but yet you buy in at old prices. So this is something that I think a lot of you should consider because of this opportunity. Okay, so I don't want to just share on that. I also want to show you the comparative market analysis on the surrounding launches and all that, okay, to back whatever that I just shared with you. So our most recent launch is the Mist, which is near to Hillian Mall as well. If you look at the Mist launch prices, on day one, they have actually sold units up to 2,003, 2,002 per square foot. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, if the surrounding nearby project have recently launched at 2002, 2003, is it not safe if you are entering at 1,007, 1,008? Right, we are almost 400 to 500 PSF difference from our recent nearby launch, right? So to me, that is also another telltale sign that this is a potential steel development, very attractively priced. Okay, next we look at other recent launches as well. Lentor Hill Residences, which is all the way at Yio Chu Kang area, is already selling at 2,002 to 2,003 per square feet, right? And we talk about something nearer to where the Arden is. You have Botany, which is at Dairy Farm. The units there have already been transacting at 2002, 2003, even 2004 PSF, right? Once again, these are all OCR prices, right? So if your neighbors are already selling at 2003, 2004 for Dairy Farm, how bad can it be if you are entering at 1,007, 1,008, right? Again, I think it's a steal in terms of price. Okay, so let's take a look at our closest neighbor, right? Right beside the Arden, we have Hillstar. And let's take a look at how Hillstar has been doing, right? Hillstar is right beside us. This is where the Arden is. All right, and Hillstar is beside. So walking straight to Hillian Mall and Bukit Panjang, it's about 700 meters away. And look at how they have been doing in the last 6 to 7 years, right? If you look at the price trend from 2016 onwards till now, we are looking at a growth rate of about 40%, right? That's quite huge numbers. And the annual growth rate here is about 4.76%, right? So very, very healthy growth for our neighbors. In the resale market, they've went up pretty well. If you are buying in a new launch right beside, this is a telltale sign that the potential growth is there. Okay, so if you look at Hillstar sales, your neighbors directly beside you, it's an older property. They have already been transacting close to 1,004 PSF. If you're entering at 1,006, 1,007, you're just entering about 300 to 400 PSF price gap difference. That to me is another telltale sign that we are entering at a very, very safe entry price. Okay, so to sum up what I said, and your neighbors beside 1,004, you entering at 1,006, 1,008 is too small a gap. Okay. So we talk about rental as well, because some of you may be looking for investment. You may be buying this to rent it out. For your 3-bedders, it's easily 4,700 to 5,000, and this is a older development. Considering the fact that the other is going to be newer, you probably would be looking at a slightly rental price as well. 2-bedders, you're even looking at 4,002, 4,003. So very, very healthy numbers here. Okay. So before I end today's session, I just want to show you some more perspective, and I'll leave the rest for you to have a look at the show gallery. But basically, this is how the Arden looks like. As I mentioned, very timeless, modern, classically designed. This is our pool area, very comfortable, low density, serene, quiet area. this is very, very suitable for buyers who love a quiet, low density area. And this is our verdant courtyard. So all units come with a very nice view. Either you're looking at the pool or looking at our courtyard area that looks something like this. All right, and this is some of the other units that's overlooking the courtyard and the kids pool as well. Okay, and this is how the development will look like from Choa Chu Kang Road. Okay, so to sum up, I think Arden is in a very good location where it's near to public transport. We are 7 to 8 minutes walk to an integrated transport hub. That's where you have your bus interchange, you have your MRT, you have your shopping malls, and not just one, but you have 3 shopping malls as well. The Arden is located in a low density area because we are surrounded by a semi-detached enclave. And also we are on an elevated plane, right? In terms of site planning, we are exclusively to just 105 units. Some of the popular layouts that I was sharing about, we only have 15 unit types for majority of the layouts here. So rare and exclusive. Residents here have good entry and exit to the Choa Chu Kang area, very accessible. All blocks are north-south orientated. And one of the key things here that I like is the high ceiling. I cannot share too much about high ceiling because it's 3.2 meters. You have to feel it for yourself. But that's one of my favorite because it really helps to enlarge the entire living space. And in terms of facade, I think the developers have did it very nicely by providing you full glass floor to ceiling glass windows that looks like picture frames. And also for the units, we are all north-south orientated with high ceilings, very, very suitable layouts, very functional layouts like the 2-bedder with option to open and enclose the kitchen. Even our 3-bedders have the option to enclose and open the kitchen. You have your 3+ study, 4+ study co-space that provides you the flexibility to choose whether you want a study space or a bigger living area, right? So many thoughts have been put into the layout here. I think the layouts are all very good, something that you can have a look at the show gallery as well. Okay, so before I end, I just want to say a big thank you for attending our session today. I hope you got some insights to the current market. Well, for sure, I'm not a crystal ball and I cannot predict whether the market is going to increase or decrease moving forward. All right, but I hope I have showed you very strong data and statistics that have shown you why property prices are still going to be trending upward. And if we are still trending upwards and you can buy into a property that is priced at a 2-year to 1 year ago price point, then I feel this is a rare opportunity that you shouldn't miss. All right. In fact, we have had a lot of buyers that came down over the weekends, but many of them who are keen, some of them have not sold their house. Some of them do not have enough finances and all that. So, come down to the show flat to have a look first, whether you have sold your house or not. These are solutions that, our ERA agents are able to provide you more solutions on the ground itself. But do have a look at the show gallery first to at least have a feel of the development, to experience what a 3.2 meter or 4.6 meter ceiling height feels like. And then we can talk about the rest on how we can make this opportunity possible for you. Okay, if not, lastly, our show flat is currently previewing all the way to the 8th of August. And our booking day is on the 12th of August, which is next Saturday, right? So we have now all the way to next Tuesday, which is the 8th of August, to view the development and also to place your interest. All right, and then after that, we will do an e-balloting, and then we will have the final booking day on the 12th of August. All right, so if any of you guys have not seen the development and would like to make a reservation for a slot to view it, please contact any of the ERA agents that have brought you or invited you here today. Okay, if not, thank you very much, everyone, for your attention today. If not, I'll see you guys at the show gallery. Okay, good night.